sunny Australia. Yes, I'm back from my overseas trip, but I am not in Melbourne, I am in Sydney because I have an exhibition launch tomorrow. Only been back a couple of days, still a bit jet lagged, so if I'm not making much sense, bear with me. So this film, I want to talk about a little bit of an update of what's going on for me. Plus, I want to talk about the most exciting news if you're a Nikon user, and that is the now official announcement of the Nikon Mirrorless. Now, I am so excited about this. This is so great. This is so great. This is so great, except for the fact that 5 weeks ago I bought an A7R III. But besides that fact, it's such exciting news. And I'm not sure what Matt Granger is talking about when he says, what's all the fuss about? This is enormous. This is Nikon changing their 35mm mount for the first time ever. First time ever, just ever. Big deal, big news, big deal. Not only are they changing their mount, they're not just changing it, reconfiguring where the drivers and the electronics are, they're making it larger. Now this is epic. This is a huge, huge thing to make it larger. This will obviously affect what sort of lenses can go on it. And who knows what this could mean the future holds. So this is really exciting news. Matt, what are you doing? What are you talking about? You're just trying to be cool? I don't think it's the way to be cool. It's to go this way, as in Matt Granger. Anyway, I want to share with you my thoughts, my excitement around what's happening here. And yeah, this is just such exciting news. So let's dive on in to the Nikon Mirrorless announcement. Oh, one last thing. When I bought my A7R III 5 weeks ago, the Nikon Mirrorless was going to be late 2019. Now, that was the rumor that I heard that was out there in the world. That's fast forwarded a whole year. You gotta laugh. You gotta laugh. We don't always get things right. Anyway, it does mean, rather than me shooting this on my Nikon D850 on my own and being out of focus, because the D850 is not very reliable when it comes to face acquisition, it means with the Sony A7R III, I am in focus right now. And that is a good thing. So I suppose we have that. Let's jump into the Nikon Mirrorless. Okay, well, so let's talk about the Nikon Mirrorless. Last I heard, maybe May, June of this year, it was rumored to be coming next year. And whilst I was overseas in the wilds of Greece in the last week in Europe, it became official. And there was this amazing trailers. Now we've got a couple of trailers showing off various aspects of this. And what are we seeing it to be? We're seeing it to be larger than the A7 series, which is a great thing. It's one of the things I'm going to talk about in my D850 and A7R III review is the size. And the size continues to be an issue for me. Anyhow, it appears to be larger. We can see that it has a larger lens coupling ring. And that's very exciting for larger aperture lenses. It also could be exciting for different chip sizes. Who knows? Nikon are talking about the fact that they're making a whole new family of lenses, and this could mean anything as well. Just like Sony have embarked upon making a whole bunch of lenses for their E-mount cameras, and now after 5 years they have quite a few. Nikon is going to be in the same boat for making new lenses, but of course, we're told there's an adapter that will adapt all of our Nikon glass. I have, I don't know, maybe something like 15 Nikon lenses that will go onto this camera, and we will get full functionality. And hopefully with the engineering prowess of a company like Nikon, it will mean those lenses work exactly how we expect them to. So that's what we're hoping for, an adapter Nikon glass that we have working on this new mirrorless camera. So of course Nikon are going to be making a whole bunch of new lenses over time, and one of the rumours now is there'll be something like a 24-70 that comes as a launch lens, which is very exciting, and it's a very commonly used lens. So we're definitely hoping to be able to use all our old Nikon glass. I think that's got to be a given. So then Nikon people will have absolutely... They won't have to make any decisions. They can just stay with Nikon and they can have mirrorless. They don't have to think about Sony as I have. And I've actually jumped there and I have spent a lot of money, even only by buying 3 lenses and 2 bodies over the last 5 years. It's still a substantial cost. So Nikon have to make sure that people like me don't go there. And they're going to be doing that. The old glass, I'm quite confident, will go on the new cameras. So this larger lens mount also, from my perspective, could mean larger sensors down the track. And even if it's only a 20% larger sensor, that could mean all sorts of interesting things. And of course, we've seen Fuji with a slightly larger sensor, well, not slightly, but a larger than 35mm sensor, and we have seen Hasselblad do it as well, both in this sort of mirrorless format. So there's just so much potential here. There's so much potential. We've obviously got our electronic viewfinder, which I do hope it's better than the Sony ones, because as I said back last year, you can see it up here, in my D850 A7R and Canon comparison theory video, I don't like electronic viewfinders as much as I like organic ones. And now having an A7R III, which is supposed to have a really good one, I still don't like them as much. There are pros and cons. I'll talk about it in my review. So I hope Nikon do better. I hope they do a lot better with the electronic viewfinder. It appears they've got the bigger grip, which I'm very excited about there being a larger grip to hold on to than the Sony. That's an issue. And then things like sensor size, battery life. You know, I think Nikon are across all those things. They know how to make great batteries. The grip looks big enough to take a nice big battery. They know about great sensors. They could put the sensor from the D810 and I'd be happy. It's such a great sensor. I'd be happy. But of course, they're more likely to put the sensor from the D850, which is amazing. Whether they would do anything else, who knows? I mean, it's a year. It's a year since the D850 actually was available, September. We're not far from that. So technology keeps moving. We could have a 50 megapixel sensor. Of course, people are talking about 2 versions. I definitely don't see a crop sensor version coming out. I don't see that at all. So I do think we will see most definitely something in the semi-pro and the enthusiast space and the pro space, which is a high megapixel full frame mirrorless camera with maybe a smaller variant, like a 24 megapixel full frame. But I'm not so sure about that. I just think they should go for gold, and they need to take the A7R III head on. Although we do know that the A7 III has been very popular. And if they're going to head that one off, then they need to do both, just like Sony are doing both. And of course, the elephant in the room for me around Nikon, and the whole reason I'm shooting this on an A7R III, a Sony, is Nikon's inability to focus with when running their video system. So the on-chip focusing system. Nikon have to get the on-chip focusing system right. Now, of course, they have to get it right because there won't be another focusing system. But they have to get it right for video as well as stills. So I think the fact that this is a mirrorless camera by default means there's just one focusing system, and it needs to be on par with the D850 from a stills perspective. So logic suggests we are going to get a really, really good focusing system for both stills and video, motion picture capture. That's the number one thing for me. I want to have a 4K minimum video capturing device that's at least as good as the A7R3, the A7 III, if not better, because it's almost a year later. So I do believe that they will at least reach where Sony are up to now, and they might even supersede it. Focus, it's critical. Please Nikon, please have addressed that. Oh, we'll all be so sad. So that's going to be very exciting. If it hits those things, battery, ergonomics, better viewfinder, better electronic viewfinder, and better focusing when in video mode. Us Nikon people with all our Nikon glass and our Nikon love affair, woo, we are going to be stoked and over the moon. And I feel sorry for Canon. They're obviously, we hear the rumors, they're obviously going to be working hard on things behind the scenes. And one theory is that they will come out with something. Boom! I have a counter theory. It might not be right, but it's just a counter theory, right? It's just something I'm pondering. And that is, Canon, they sell video cameras, and they sell video cameras in this sort of lower $5,000 to $10,000 bracket, like say the C200. They sell these mid, low, and high-end video cameras. They've been working in this space for a while. Nikon doesn't do it, so it's not a problem for Nikon. They're not cannibalizing anything by making this mirrorless camera a great video camera. Now, Sony, on the other hand, have made great video cameras in their stills cameras, but they had to get into the market, so they just had to do it however they could, and they had to put the advantages where they could. And sure, they're going to be cannibalizing some of their video camera market space, but they had to do that to get ahead of Canon. It's all the shuffling of the deck chairs. So sure, Sony's done that, but they had to do it just to get into the market. Nikon can go as hard as they want in the video space. They're not cannibalizing anything, but Canon will be. They will be cannibalizing, and I think it's why they have been the slowest at going to 4K. Sure, they've got the best focusing system by a hair versus the Sony, but they haven't gone 4K, and that's mind-numbing. That's mind-numbing to filmmakers and YouTubers, etc. out there. Why haven't they done it? So will they now make that choice to cannibalize themselves? Will they do that or not? I don't know, but I think they're going to be making some hard choices right now in the boardrooms at Canon. Well, they probably made them a little while ago, to be honest. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about Canon, but I do think they still have that conundrum. It's just a theory. It's a theory as to why they haven't done it so far, and how will they decide. It'd be very interesting to see. I think they need to decide to cannibalize their semi-pro video space. I think they need to decide to do that. Otherwise, they're going to... So many people are buying these cameras, A7R3s, Nikon Mirrorlesses. They're buying them as hybrids to do stills and motion picture. That's why they're buying them. And if Canon don't address that, they're just simply going to lose market share. It's as simple as that. I'm going to buy a camera that does both, whether it's a Sony or a Nikon. And if the Canon just doesn't do both, well, 4K, because that's the future, 8K is the future. If Canon don't address that, they will simply lose market share. And one of the reasons they're so successful right now is they did it best with the 5D. They did 1080p back in the day. They did it best with the 5D, and they got a great name in the filmmaker space, and they got ahead, and they just, I don't know what they've done since then. So, come on, Canon, if you want to still be in this conversation, come on! Anyway, back to the Nikon Mirrorless. We're going to know, I think, is it the 23rd of August? Something like that. We're going to know on the 23rd of August, which is like it's only 3 weeks away, 2.5 weeks. It's so exciting. I'm going to have to go and get a third job just so I can afford to pay for it. I don't think my wife will be very happy if I buy one straight away. We'll see how much they are. It could be that it's like $7,000 in Australia for the body and a lens, and then that will be too mind-blowing. From my perspective, if it's the similar megapixels to the D850 and the A7R3 price-wise, I think it would have to be at the same sort of price. But of course, to jump into the market and get some traction, I don't think Nikon will do it because the D850 was actually quite expensive. So I do think it'll be $4,000 or $5,000 without a lens. And if we're lucky, it'll be $5,000 or $6,000 with a lens. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. I don't know why I was doing that. Fingers crossed. So, I think this is amazing news for the future of Nikon. It's such amazing news for the future of Nikon. It's what we'd all been hoping for. I can't wait to see if Nikon has elevated themselves to the challenge of it being, at a bare minimum, an A7R3 or an A7 III. I do think and pray that it'll be slightly better. That's what it needs to be. And I can't wait to talk about it with you guys more when it arrives. It's going to be so exciting. I mean, this is a massive thing for Nikon. It's a massive thing for the industry because they are one of the old guard. You know, there's them and Canon in this 35mm space who've been around, the big players, for decades and decades. This is one of them saying, and they've said it now in their marketing, their most recent marketing, you know, they had the old mount for the first 100 years, and now this is the mount for the next 100 years. Now that's a big statement, because when they invented that first mount, they didn't know what the future was going to look like. Back in, you know, 1920, 1930, 1940, 1950, no idea. They had no idea what the future was going to look like. But now, well, they know that the next 100 years is a big commitment, and this mount is big, and I think it's got a lot of potential to do different things with it. So, I think the next 5 years in this Nikon mirrorless space is going to be very exciting, and then it'll be great to see what Sony does, and then it'll be great to see what Canon does. They are the main full frame, 35mm full frame camera players today, as we know. Whew, so exciting. Anyway, a little bit of catch up on what I'm up to. Still working on the D850 A7R3 review. Back in Australia, have this launch here in Sydney, happening tomorrow at the Sofitel Wentworth. So if you are in Australia or if you are in Sydney, you can come and see an exhibition of mine that ends at the end of the month. At the end of, what month are we in? August. It's here in the foyer, it's free, you can come and look at it. It's in conjunction with my book, Sydney A Love Affair, which you can get online, and of course, and in all good bookshops. And that's why I'm here at the moment. I'm still moving office. That's been an epic affair. I was in the same office for 20 years. Hopefully that will be over in another month. It's killing me. It's got so much stuff. I lived there and worked there. I lived there for about 10 years and have worked there for almost 20 years. It's a big thing moving. So that's a bit of an update on me. Please, I would love to hear your thoughts about the Nikon Mirrorless. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Nikon Mirrorless if you were thinking about a D850. And if the Nikon Mirrorless ends up having the same spec, you know, 45 megapixel sensor, would you just get one of those? I would. I wouldn't get a D850. Is that what you would do? Just go straight to the mirrorless? There are still some advantages of the D850, which I will talk about in the future. I just because it's just mirrorless versus SLR. Not all occasions are right for a mirrorless, but let's wait and see what Nikon do. They might bring a few things out of the box. Who knows? So tell me, what will you do? D850 versus mirrorless if it's the same megapixels? Will you still go to Sony? If you're new to the market and you're thinking, where do I go? Well, you still go to Sony. And what are your thoughts on Canon? What are they going to do? Love to hear all of your thoughts on these things. Please, as always, if you haven't subscribed, please do. Please like, please share. We love sharing. And you know, I've said it before and I'll say it again, sharing makes us all smarter. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Have a great one. See you soon. Ciao.
次の100年へより高い次元まで飛躍させる 新版とは我々ニコンの挑戦です。